showing up, but we did have a couple of showers in areas to the north. You see this rotated through North Alabama. We have an upper level trough. It's digging in across the southeast, and there's some more clouds with that. You see back in here over Mississippi, and those will start to move in. Actually, that's probably going to enhance that sunset this evening. So I'm giving you a sunset alert. Should have some lovely photos as that drifts in here from northwest to southeast across the area. But temperature wise, again, you can see a beautiful view. That's actually live right there. That view that's from Nectar. You can see the temperature as we go through this evening tumbling to 50 by 10 o'clock, but areas to the north like Coleman, Double Springs, Haleyville, over towards Hamilton and Aniana, Gadsden areas, we'll be in the 40s by that point. So cold and windy with temperatures in the 40s. Tomorrow morning out the door, I'm not concerned about frost tomorrow morning. The wind will help us out. Temperatures not quite as cold as tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is going to be a lot calmer, so that's when we could see more 30s out there. But during the day, still not too bad. Tomorrow we'll have highs in the 60s. And the thing is, this time of year, that sunshine really helps out with those comfort levels. But if you are working outdoors tomorrow, even though it's going to be a cooler feeling day, make sure you have sun protection. It's so easy to get sunburn this time of year as we head towards the summer months. Windy tomorrow, that's the next big thing. And then we got the frost threat that's going to be happening Friday, Saturday morning. Tomorrow is going to stay very breezy, but Friday looks to be a calmer day. And then the clouds may return for eclipse day. We're seeing a system out there that could certainly have an impact and even bring a chance for showers on Monday. So we're watching that closely. I know a lot of folks are going to be traveling. A system that will not only impact Alabama, but a good part of the country. So we'll show you those areas in the path of totality and what the weather also looks like there. That's coming up here on Weather Extra.
And the National Weather Service confirmed just a few hours ago an EF1 tornado touched down in Chilton County last night. Let's go right now to Anjanae Robinson, who joins us live in Chilton County following the National Weather Service as they determine the strength of this storm. Anjanae?
Well, Lauren, I'm on County Road 37 near Clanton, where a good amount of damage did occur. As you can see behind me, this structure, it was in pretty bad condition earlier today, but thanks to some community support and help, they have cleaned up most of the damage. Now, National Weather Service crews were out here earlier today. They were assessing the damage, and they tell me that this is where most of the damage occurred here in Chilton County. Now, the National Weather Service sent out their storm survey crew after receiving reports about the damage. They started out in Plantersville, where they saw mostly trees down before making their way to the Pools Crossroads community. They tell me they mainly look for what was damaged and how badly to estimate the intensity of the storm.
Right at this particular location with the barn, it looks very dramatic, but it probably didn't take that much of a intense tornado. We're rating it EF0 preliminarily. But these types of barns with the metal structures, it's very susceptible to wind damage, so even an EF0 can create this sort of damage.
Now, the National Weather Service crews will continue to follow the path of the tornado to the county line. Reporting live from Chilton County, Anjanae Robinson, WBRC, Fox 6 News on your side.
Thanks, Anjanae. Great work out there today. Check out this footage of Roger Bean's workshop that was also destroyed in last night's storms. Bean says he was getting off of work when the storms came through, and on his way home, he was reminding his family to stay safe. Despite the damage, Bean is thankful his family is safe and says everything else is replaceable.
When I was at work, and I got a friend that was in surgery all day yesterday for cancer. That's the real stuff. So I've been praying for him at work, and I was thanking God that my family was safe. Once I found out they were safe and everybody was all right, and that's funny. Everybody around here got another shop over the hill and got another shop down the road, but everybody's family was safe. That's all that really matters,
So true. Glad everyone's safe. Well, severe weather was also impacting other states across the South. As of this morning, there have been over 120 storm reports across Ohio and Tennessee River valleys, including several tornadoes. This is a look at the damage in Sunbright, Tennessee. Down power lines and roofs, torn off homes and businesses.
And Lauren, storms were also so strong in Ohio that winds tore the roof off of an Ohio elementary school. Look at what's left of this classroom after storms hit Fairland West Elementary School in Proctorville. No injuries, thankfully, were reported, but parents in the district say all of the students are on spring break. The superintendent says the school will not be opening in the near future and students will be moved to other buildings. The storm system continuing to leave behind a path of destruction as tornadoes, flooding, and snow pushed east. Officials are urging drivers anywhere in the storm's wake to beware of downed trees, hiding power lines. Today, severe storms are dousing Pennsylvania and parts of surrounding states. Up north, it's a snowy day in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, with a blizzard warning in northern Michigan. Storms could even potentially be impacting the view of the eclipse this upcoming Monday. Even though our area will only likely see clouds, parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana could see damaging winds, hail, rain, and perhaps a tornado. And even though storms could likely hold off until late afternoon, cloud coverage could still possibly impact the view of those in the path of totality. Plus, storms firing up later in the day could impact post-eclipse travel. But be sure to stay tuned in for us and with us throughout the day tomorrow for First Alert Weather Extra as we bring an in-depth look at your Monday forecast, as well as explain the difference between thick and thin clouds. In 30 seconds, though, we take a deep dive into the devastating super tornado outbreak of 1974 and how it's changed forecasting. We'll be right back. Welcome back in, everyone. First Alert meteorologist Tania Michelle here. I just want to show you those current temperatures across central Alabama, ranging from the 50s down into the low 60s, 61 there in Bibb County, 59 in Blunt, 54 in Winston. But looking at those winds for tonight, we've still got those breezy conditions. We can see winds gusting up to about 30 miles per hour, and this continues overnight into your early Thursday morning. So those breezy conditions aren't going anywhere anytime soon. If you have some time throughout the evening, just give yourself a little extra time to secure those outdoor objects in your front and in your backyard.
Thanks, Tania. Well, as today marks the 50th anniversary of the 1974 super tornado outbreak, meteorologist Matt Daniel takes a deep dive on the event and talks about how it brought changes to the meteorological world.
It's been 50 years since the 1974 super outbreak occurred across the country. 13 states, numerous tornadoes. It was at the time one of the biggest outbreaks in recorded history in the United States. And then, of course, we hit 2011 of April 27th, and that's when it was able to be surpassed. I'm joined today with University of Georgia professor Dr. John Knox. You actually grew up in Jefferson County in Birmingham, and you have a story to tell about that day.
I do, and thanks for having me.
So it covered 13 states, 335 people passed away. Of course, it also impacted farther to the North Tennessee, up towards Kentucky and into the Midwest. There were several intense F5 tornadoes as well. When it comes to meteorology, this outbreak actually led into more research, more in the way of radar and satellites and being able to understand the F scale. Ted Fujita was able to sort of use this event in particular. Can you tell us how science has evolved from this particular event?
Both science and safety have really evolved based on the super outbreak. So, for example, from a safety standpoint, the fact that so many radio stations went down that were supposed to convey warnings back then, commercial radio stations, that NOAA Weather Radio was created. That was the impetus for that was largely from Kentucky, which lost a lot of ability to warn people. So that's one thing that happened. Doppler radar to be able to measure the winds and estimate the intensity of a tornado in real time and later. That came along as well. It was a serious impetus because there were so many high-end F4, F5 tornadoes. Lots of other things have come along as well. An entire generation of meteorologists, probably including my generation, were inspired to go into our field to study this. You name it, the 74 super outbreak was a landmark event and still is a landmark event in meteorological history.
Thanks so much to our friend Dr. Knox for joining us and telling us more about the super outbreak. Well, as Alabama was one of those 13 states that was heavily impacted by the event, our Brian Henry joins us now as the city of Guin remembers that devastating day.
50 years ago today, sirens wailed, people wept in Guin, Alabama, moments after a supercell F5 tornado shredded the town. 25 dead, hundreds more injured. 2,000 left homeless.
No one was expecting, as I said, what happened.
Mayor Phil Seagraves remembered he was all of 19 at the time.
I got here, of course, it was pitch dark. You got to imagine you can see your hand in front of your face.
Inside Guin City Hall, there is a large box of photos that tell the story of April 3rd, 1974. Pictures that need no words, a war zone in black and white. The mayor's parents were spared, others were not.
4 people killed within a block of them, and there was a house across the street on fire. We are remembering today.
On this day, Mayor Seagraves laid a wreath in memory of the victims, souls like Jennifer Ballard and Winnie Gilmore.
And we want to remember them today in this terrible time.
But just stick it like up through here.
2 blocks away at the Guin City Cemetery, students from Marion County High School honored 6 of the 25 buried here with a memorial wreath.
It reminded me of
Ella Ezekiel says it was a blessing to do this today. Ezekiel can only imagine what it was like if she had been alive in 1974.
I can't imagine what they went through. I know there was they had to be something terrible.
Ella Kate People was here too.
Just remembering how my family has told me personally how hard that time was.
Guin rebuilt itself and still remains a small Alabama town, but stronger and sober of how quickly life can change on a dime. Many lessons were learned that night.
Well, you'll find many storm shelters now in Guin. You'll find that we take the weather very serious.
There is talk of creating a museum to add to the memorial they already have here. Right now, it's only an idea. For now, they still have the memories and the stories of that awful night 50 years ago. And Guin, Brian Henry, WBRC Fox 6 News, on your side.
Powerful story. Thank you, Brian. Well, still ahead, we talk about your forecast for the rest of the week, which, spoiler alert, could be a little on the cool side, as well as the possibility for unsettled weather next week. We'll be right back.
Welcome back into Weather Extra. Very dry conditions, still very windy across Alabama. You can see these arrows showing the wind. It's been mostly out of the west direction, wrapping in around a big trough that's across the eastern U.S. Behind that stormy weather that we dealt with last night. Notice, though, the big drop-off in temperatures happening right now. Even center showing 49 right now. We got some colder air to the north. We've had more clouds across northern areas. That's helped to hold those temperatures down today as well, but still very breezy. You factor this, throw this in the mix with temperatures falling into the low 50s and 40s. It's going to be a chilly night, certainly one of the coldest nights that we've dealt with as far as the feels like temperature goes. But the overnight actual low will be around 41 degrees, so we're not worried about freezing conditions as we head out the door Thursday morning, and not concerned about frost tomorrow morning. But notice early Friday and early Saturday, you can see those temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. So there is a good chance that we're going to see some patchy frost, and we'll probably see another frost advisory issued Friday morning, early on Saturday. The daytime, though, not too bad. The rest of the day is going to be dry, and it won't be as windy in here. That's why we think the calmer conditions will allow those temperatures to fall cold enough to where we could see some frost development. But notice the overnight temperatures into next Wednesday, well above freezing. In fact, I was sharing some data. Someone was asking about planting a garden, and it looked like right on through past the 20th of April, we were seeing conditions there with temperatures well above freezing. So could this be the last big frost threat? I always say I can never rule out maybe a light frost on into May, but those chances are certainly dropping off as we go through the next few weeks. But the rain chances today, we had a couple of showers to the north. That's coming to an end. We're looking at just a few clouds still possibly moving in from the northwest tonight. Winds out of the west at 14 miles per hour at 9 o'clock. So it's still going to be very breezy through this evening. And then tomorrow, 7 o'clock out the door, you can see a lot of 40s here at Clinton. We're at 42, Tuscaloosa, 42, Birmingham, a few upper 30s to the north. But even around Gadsden Center with those temperatures will be in fine shape and again kind of breezy. So that'll help limit frost development early on. Tomorrow afternoon, still a cool day. We're still in this colder flow pattern here out of the west-northwest direction, but that really starts to lift out of here, that trough, and things settle down into Friday morning, and you can see a lot of 30s there showing up on the map, so it's going to be a much colder day. Watching next week for the total solar eclipse. Now for us, it's going to be a partial eclipse, but you can see the path of totality is back to the west of us. We're going to have 80 to 90% coverage, but you will still need eye protection if we can see it. Notice the models are showing clouds, and I was checking some of the data, and it looks like thick cloud cover could be around during the afternoon. That's going to peak around 2 o'clock on Monday. But again, our 7-day forecast, we're watching for the next chance of rain and storms to move in early next week. And Tania had a viewer that checked in just a few moments ago asking about the pollen forecast. So you ask and you shall receive, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are answering your questions, and we always love to do that. I want to show you that pollen forecast for this week, and I have some good news about this. I mean, the one good thing that rain and storms always does is it helps to clear out that pollen that's in the air and on our surfaces, grass, pavements. So looking at that pollen forecast, tree pollen as of right now is low, medium pollen levels for grass, and then that mold levels are low as well. So there's a look at that pollen forecast, but let's take you beyond the 7-day at our next chances for rain and more active weather. And as you see here, we've got a little bit more red boxes on our First Alert weather calendar. So that means we can see some morning frost around for your Friday. So we've highlighted that in red also on Saturday. But Sunday is looking a lot warmer, and we're staying warm throughout next week. But notice next week brings us a more active weather pattern in the forecast. Wes was just talking about the solar eclipse, and the forecast for that day looks cloudy, but also a little wet and rainy as well. So that's April the 8th. April the 9th, we've got rain around, possible rain chances around for April the 10th. That's next Wednesday and next Thursday. And then we finally get some dry weather, which is really just in time for next weekend. So Friday through next weekend looking pretty good, and even for that following week in April. But looking at that 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, April 9th through the 13th, notice here that most of the United States is going to be seeing above average temperatures, including us here across Alabama and central Alabama. So we're going to be seeing more warmer conditions, which means pollen level is going to increase as well. And then our 6 to 10 day rainfall outlook showing here across the southeast above average rainfall. So we do have more active weather patterns in the forecast along with increasing temperatures. But with the eclipse only a few short days away, have you ever wondered how we as a society found out about the solar eclipses to begin with? Meteorologist Fred Hunter traces those roots and explores what Native Americans saw, thanks to a member of the Cherokee tribe here in North Alabama.
Over the coming days, you'll hear plenty of science associated with the eclipse. But long before the days of modern science came the folklore of what people were witnessing. So we've come here to the ancestral home of the Cherokee to talk about the days when an event like an eclipse gave rise to stories which still linger.
Fort Payne was known as Cantonment Payne. It was built in 1837, and it was there to house the Cherokee that were being removed from the area and taken on the Trail of Tears. It is the only cantonment removal site in Alabama where surface ruins are still visible.
People think the Trail of Tears was one long trail west as the Cherokee were removed, forced to remove by Andrew Jackson's Removal Act, but actually it was 13 different trails around the southeast.
The Cherokee believed that we walked up on Earth, up on basically a platform, and it's suspended from the sky from 4 threads that went all the way up into infinity.
Jerry Ellis is well versed on Native American traditions through his Cherokee ancestors. 35 years ago, he walked the Trail of Tears and wrote a Pulitzer Prize nominated book documenting the trip. His home today is a link to his ancestry.
In this area, there are some sacred sites of large stones that apparently correlate to constellations. Some of these other ones out west have been, by astronomers, they have been confirmed they align with the different eclipses.
Eventually, the oral traditions gave way to written history, which also originated here.
Sequoyah was a Cherokee blacksmith who lived in Fort Payne, which was then known as Willstown. He came up with the idea of watching white settlers reading and passing notes to create what he called talking leaves. And in 1821, he presented his Cherokee syllabary to the Cherokee people. And within 5 years, the Cherokee were 98% literate.
You've heard
All right, still windy tonight, but tomorrow night we need to worry about the frost. Right?
And possibly Saturday, too.
Yeah, some cold days ahead of us, but we'll give you more updates tonight, first at 9. Hey, Bell Media, hey. Yes, sir. All right, let's do it in 3, 2. Hey there, everyone. First Alert meteorologist Tania Michelle here with a look at that 7-day forecast. We have a first alert for some frosty conditions around for your Friday morning. Temperatures across central Alabama dipping down into the 30s. Warming up by your Friday afternoon, mostly sunny skies with highs there in the low 60s. Starting to see a warmer trend. Not Saturday morning. Still got another first alert for some frost, cold conditions. But by the afternoon, Saturday upper 60s, Sunday back into the low 70s, staying in the 70s next week. But that also brings us some more active weather patterns. So we're going to see winds back out of the south, more moisture building into the atmosphere here across central Alabama. Chances for rain and maybe even some thunderstorms as we approach the middle of next week. So we'll continue to give you more forecast updates. If you want more updates, don't hesitate to download the WBRC First Alert Weather app and check in for your local newscasts on WBRC Fox 6 News.